The military history of Brazil comprises centuries of armed actions in the territory encompassing modern Brazil, and the role of the Brazilian armed forces in conflicts and peacekeeping worldwide. For several hundreds of years, the area was the site of intertribal wars of indigenous peoples. Beginning in the 16th century, the arrival of Portuguese explorers led to conflicts with the Aboriginal peoples, a notable example being the revolt of the Tomoya Confederation. Sporadic revolts of African slaves also marked the colonial period, with a notable rebellion led by Zumbi dos Palmares. Conflicts were encountered with other European nations as well, two notable examples being the France-Antarctica affair, and a conflict with the Netherlands in the early 17th century over control of much of the northeast. Although Portugal retained its possessions during conflicts with other nations, it lost control of the colony after the Brazilian War of Independence, which led to the establishment of the Empire of Brazil. Brazil's history after independence is marked by early territorial wars against its neighboring countries, which have greatly affected the formation of current political boundaries. For example, the Cisplatin War, fought over the present-day territory of Uruguay, established that nation's independence. Brazil was also affected in its infancy by minor, and ultimately unsuccessful, revolts in the northern provinces. An armed conflict with Paraguay led to an establishment of Brazil's current border with that nation after a decisive victory. Internal conflicts between the executive government and the power of wealthy landowners finally led to the abolishment of the Brazilian Empire, and the rise of the current Republican government. Modern activity includes participation in both world wars along with internal struggles due to military rule, and participation in right-wing military operations, such as Operation Condor. Recent developments include participation in peacekeeping efforts after the 2004 Haiti rebellion, European colonization, indigenous rebellions. The Tomoya Confederation was a military alliance of Aboriginal chieftains of the seacoast ranging from what is today Santos to Rio de Janeiro, which occurred from 1554 to 1567. The main reason for this rather unusual alliance between separate tribes was to react against slavery and wholesale murder and destruction wrought by the early Portuguese discoverers and colonizers of Brazil onto the Tupinambá people. In the Tupi language, Tamuya means elder or grandfather. Kunhambaby was elected chief of the confederation by his counterparts, and together with chiefs Pindo Bucu, Coakira, Ararai and Amba, declared war on the Portuguese. Slave rebellions were frequent until the practice of slavery was abolished in 1888. The most famous of the revolts was led by Zumbi dos Palmares. The state he established, named the Quilombo dos Palmares, was a self-sustaining republic of Maroons escaped from the Portuguese settlements in Brazil, and was a region perhaps the size of Portugal in the hinterland of Bahia. At its height, Palmares had a population of over 30,000. Forced to defend against repeated attacks by Portuguese colonial power, the warriors of Palmares were expert in Capoeira, a martial arts form developed in Brazil by African slaves in the 16th century. An African known only as Zumbi was born free in Palmares in 1655, but was captured by the Portuguese and given to a missionary, Father Antonio Melo, when he was approximately 6 years old. Baptized Francisco, Zumbi was taught the sacraments, learned Portuguese and Latin, and helped with daily mass. Despite attempts to civilize him, Zumbi escaped in 1670 and, at the age of 15, returned to his birthplace. Zumbi became known for his physical prowess and cunning in battle and was a respected military strategist by the time he was in his early 20s. By 1678, the governor of the captaincy of Pernambuco, Pedro Almeida, weary of the long-standing conflict with Palmares, approached its leader Ganga Zumba with an olive branch. Almeida offered freedom for all runaway slaves if Palmares would submit to Portuguese authority, a proposal which Ganga Zumba favored. But Zumbi was distrustful of the Portuguese. Further, he refused to accept freedom for the people of Palmares while other Africans remained enslaved. He rejected Almeida's overture and challenged Ganga Zumba's leadership, vowing to continue the resistance to Portuguese oppression. Zumbi became the new leader of Palmares. 15 years after Zumbi assumed leadership of Palmares, Portuguese military commanders Domingos Jorge Velho and Vieira de Mello mounted an artillery assault on the Quilombo. February 6, 1694, after 67 years of ceaseless conflict with the Cafuzos, or Maroons, of Palmares, the Portuguese succeeded in destroying Cerca do Macaco, the Republic's central settlement. Palmares warriors were no match for the Portuguese artillery, the Republic fell, and Zumbi was wounded. Though he survived and managed to elude the Portuguese, he was betrayed, captured almost 2 years later and beheaded on the spot November 20, 1695. The Portuguese transported Zumbi's head to Recife, where it was displayed in the central praça as proof that, contrary to popular legend among African slaves, Zumbi was not immortal. It was also done as a warning of what would happen to others if they tried to be as brave as him. Remnants of the old Quilombos continued to reside in the region for another 100 years.